Yes.
Hi guys, my name is Adriana, an opinion columnist, a freshman in the college.
I'm Ton, I'm a junior. I'm also an opinion columnist.
Hi, I'm James. I'm a freshman in the college as well, and I am also an opinion columnist.
So for today's roundtable discussion, we're going to be talking about how Penn should deal with sexual assault allegations made against people who are associated with the university. So I know that a lot of people aren't quite as up to date on the news as they probably should be, as we probably should be. So do you think it should be Penn's role to inform the students, at least at the very minimum, that something is going on and that an allegation has been made?
I think as students, we do have a right to have transparency from the administration, because if we don't know what's going on around us, then we aren't informed. And I think that a lot of people come into play in this. So other students, other opinion leaders have to talk to each other and start these dialogues. And beyond that, I think like the media, the news, a lot of students aren't taking it upon themselves to find this information. So the Daily Pennsylvanian has this responsibility in sharing the information. And the administration has this higher level of responsibility because they themselves control a lot of what students learn.
Yeah, I completely agree. I would say that if the university is aware that there's a sexual assault allegation against an individual, I don't think the university should have hired them for the position in the first place, or if there's a public figure associated with the university. I feel like if the university has to outright say that this person committed sexual assault, the university shouldn't have brought them on board for whatever function they were doing in the first place.
So better background checks.
Yeah.
But also there are instances when these kind of allegations come up way later after the fact, after people have already been hired. So if that's the case, what do you think the role of the university should be?
I think from that point, it's a case-by-case basis. With the case of Miguel, I think that's a very gray area, because I genuinely believe that when the university or the SBEC committee hired him, they weren't really aware of the allegations against him. Because I was looking online, and the first article that comes up about the sexual assault allegations is this something a report by the Daily Pennsylvanian. There wasn't a lot before that about it, and I think from that point on, as soon as people recognize, oh, this person has allegations against them, I think it comes to a case-by-case basis on the severity of the accusation, if the university has to continue doing business with that party.
Yeah, I think that I agree that it's less clear when things are allegations, and I still go back to my point where all of these cases are really important, but there's a broader dialogue, there's a broader problem just beyond these figures. I think that people really need to start talking about the importance of sexual assault and how it's not acceptable. So if Penn has this bold claim to diversity and inclusion, and this bold claim to caring about the safety of their students, then the message that they need to send is that they are not afraid to kind of challenge people who have already been in power. So rather than keeping them in power, actively making a stance against them and showing that they're not going to accept or uphold a system of inequality.
Right. And I know that they did that, particularly looking back at the case of Steve Wynn, whose name has been removed from the Commons, right, outside of Houston. There has been, kind of debate regarding Michael Steinhardt, the namesake of the Penn Hillel building, who was accused of sexual harassment, and now to, maintain some sort of consistency, do you think that Penn should take similar action and work with Hillel to remove his name from the Hillel building?
I think that it's a little too early to tell right now, just because right now I believe the accusations against him are still just accusations, and obviously that should be taken very seriously, and it brings him into the public eye, and brings him under scrutiny by the university. but I don't know if it's necessarily okay to like remove his name before the accusations are like confirmed in like an indictment of like sexual assault, like a court of law. Like, yes, treat the accusations very seriously, but I don't know if the university should take action until like one way or another the accusations are either disproven or proven.
So I kind of see like your point, what point you're trying to make about maybe this goes into cancel culture. I see that on campuses, cancel culture is really prevalent because a lot of students kind of look to their peers on forming their own opinions. So if someone's like canceled, then like they have to follow this mentality. And I think that we should challenge this like mob mentality where we kind of just follow the herd and follow what people are saying. I think whatever you do, whatever you believe in, it should be firmly because you've done your research and you like firmly believe in like what people should face consequences in. So I think like again, we need to do our research about this case, but I also think like believing survivors and believing victims is really important rather than undermining like what they've been through and accusing them of lying or like making up the case. I think it's more important to like think about the broader issues of inequality and discrimination.
How much do you think the university cares about its image, and does that take priority over students that attend?
I think being an Ivy League institution, they care a lot about their image, and I think that's where a lot of criticism comes from, whether the administration actually cares about something or if they just care about the backlash that comes if they don't act upon it. And I see this as a way to hold them accountable, but also the message that they send out should not just be for the sake of publicity, like their PR or like upholding a certain image. With that being said, I do think that we have some values and ideals at this institution that they need to uphold. I think like the students also play a role in that. Like we can't just rely on the administration. I honestly think that when I think of like what Penn does in regards to these situations, I think it's not just from the administration level. It's like all students, everyone involved with Penn.
I agree. Just like, yes, blanket statement.
So kind of going back to cancel culture, do you think that it's the role of the institution to send out a message kind of swaying one way or the other?
No, I don't. I think in large part, like, it depends on the students to make a stance on the issue, and then the university, like, at the end steps in, like, this is, like, what the university's stance is on it. Like, from, like, a campus culture point of view, like, people need to decide, like where they stand on the issue, but no, like, the university is, like, very public, and very, like, if you remove someone's name from, like, a hall, like Steinhardt Hall, then, like, that's, like, a very permanent decision. So I think the university should, like, take the time to listen to the students, what the students think, like, see, like, what the results from, like, the case are, and then based on that, make their decision.
Yeah, I think being at Penn, I've observed that it's not really the institution that molds people's opinions. It's more of their peers and what they've experienced themselves. I think like the institution has this responsibility to create an environment where people can feel comfortable with shaping their opinions and standing up for what they believe in. But I don't necessarily think that the university controls what we believe in. I think the flip side, people can criticize the university for doing things just to kind of promote a certain image, almost as if they're just worried about their image rather than the actual message that they're sending beyond that. So I really value that we're having this conversation, and I hope that it goes beyond this, that other students also have this conversation.
Yeah, I would definitely like to echo that, in addition to, again, making sure that this, Me Too movement is really, truly intersectional, and that it's, it would be more like attainable to certain people if it were more inclusive. And I think that there's definitely a sense of whiteness in that movement, and I think that that causes certain people to refrain from speaking up if they don't see kind of their, I guess, role model in that setting on media. So just making sure that movement is more inclusive, and then also again figuring out the role of education as it pertains to sexual assault. I think will help us move from there.
Good job, guys. Super interesting.